Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're venturing into something, well, pretty fascinating, I think.
Hmm.
It's this AI-generated, kind of never-ending conversation between Werner Herzog and Slavoj Žižek.
Right. You find it on that YouTube channel, Being George.
That's the one. And it's quite a thing to sort of witness, even simulate it. Two, really formidable minds, supposedly, in dialogue.
Yeah. And our task, as I see it, is to sort of dive into the transcript, right?
Yeah.
Pull out some of the key philosophical ideas, maybe those moments of friction or insight they're both known for.
Exactly. Let's see what we can unearth.
But it's worth remembering, isn't it, that this is AI generated? It's not actually them talking.
Oh, absolutely. Crucial point.
It's like an algorithmic reflection, maybe,
Yeah.
an interpretation of their styles, their thinking. So we're engaging with that simulation, which is interesting in itself.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get into it. The conversation, or the transcript we have, kicks off with Herzog on love. And it's pretty uncompromising.
Uh-huh. What does he say?
He calls unconditional love a beautiful illusion, or even a blood illusion.
Oh, okay. Straight in with his cynicism.
Pretty much, it really makes you question something we often just take for granted, right?
Absolutely. That perspective, it really fits with that kind of philosophical pessimism you see in a lot of Herzog's films, actually.
Yeah, that tracks.
But he's not just, like, dismissing love entirely, is he? It sounds more like he's pointing out how precarious it might be.
Exactly. He suggests this illusion, as he calls it, is powerful. It can make people sacrifice incredible things, maybe even their freedom.
And he hints that maybe our social structures, commitments, family, all that,
Hmm.
maybe they're built on the same potentially shaky ground.
Which is a pretty destabilizing thought when you think about it.
It really is. Are
Right.
we all kind of participating in this shared
Yeah.
belief?
About love.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, but then Yushik comes in and he shifts the focus inward.
Okay. How so?
He insists that, to truly love someone else, you first need self-love. It's like a prerequisite. Ah, right. So, genuine connection out there depends on a certain kind of wholeness in here.
That's the idea.
Yeah, you could connect that to Lacanian ideas, maybe. The mirror stage, the formation of the self. That sense of self is critical before you can really relate to other.
Right.
Without it, love might just be, what, projection, or trying to fill a gap inside yourself.
It really puts the question back on you, the listener. How does your own sense of self impact your relationships, your ability to love?
Mm-hmm. Good question.
So, from love, this AI dialogue takes quite a sharp turn. It moves into survival, suicide, particularly among adolescents.
Okay, that's a heavy shift.
It is. And Herzog, or the AI Herzog, points out this isn't new. Suicide was apparently a big issue even back in ancient Greece.
Right. It's not just a modern problem. What's interesting there is the AI bringing in Peter Singer's view.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, Singer apparently suggests we shouldn't just leap to pathologizing teen suicide as, madness.
He proposes it might actually stem from a kind of heightened awareness. An awareness of life maybe not having a built-in meaning, or just profound loneliness.
So suicide as a desperate response to that awareness,
Yeah.
to feeling totally abandoned.
Potentially, yeah. A way to preempt that feeling of complete abandonment. It really echoes Camus, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, Camus famously said suicide is the only truly serious philosophical question. It forces that confrontation with meaning, with the value of existence itself.
That feeling of utter isolation driving something so final, it's a lot to take in. And then Ujik jumps in with something very Nushik.
Uh-oh, what is it?
He says, quote, "You should never commit suicide. Die while state of team cops."
Right. Okay. Provocative, enigmatic. Typical Ejek, maybe?
Definitely. What do you make of that?
Well, he does elaborate, apparently.
Yeah.
He argues that if the world seems broken or crazy, the answer isn't to destroy yourself. It's to try and change the world through politics. His whole art of the possible idea.
Huh.
So his critique is aimed outwards at the system, the ideology, the state of team cops, whatever that specifically means here.
Mhm.
He's saying the problem might not be you, it might be the world you're in.
So don't find a personal solution, find a political collective one.
That seems to be the thrust of it, yeah. Which really makes you think, doesn't it? How do
Yeah.
you navigate your own feelings of maybe meaninglessness within these bigger structures?
It's a stark contrast. Personal despair versus this call for collective action. And it leads into another surprising claim from Ishak,
Which is,
that real political resistance, the authentic kind, is actually grounded in love.
love. Politics and love, that's not the usual pairing.
Not at all.
He really says that. Interesting, he connects it to Pascal,
Oh.
apparently. Pascal's wager.
How does that fit?
Like, true faith for Pascal is shown when you risk everything for it. Ejec sees that same total commitment, that willingness to stake it all, as the core of genuine political resistance.
Wow.
So he's elevating politics, which we often see as cynical, with this really intense personal emotion, love. It definitely challenges how we usually think about political motives.
It really does. Then the AI throws in another perspective attributed to the kid.
The kid.
Yeah. And this perspective frames suicide in completely opposite ways. Like, maybe it's cowardice, the easy way out,
Okay.
but also maybe it's something transcendental, liberating. The phrase used is antimatter for free.
Antimatter for free. That's quite poetic.
And jarring.
Totally jarring. It's like it deliberately disrupts the flow, but it highlights how contradictory our views on suicide can be.
Yeah. And the follow-up point is important too, right? The script says there's this nuanced stance. Never criticize someone who takes their own life.
Right. Acknowledging the personal reality behind it.
Exactly. You can't truly know their experience. So if you step back, you see these threads the AI is weaving: love, existence, politics, suicide, all tangled together.
Yeah, seemingly disparate things brought into relation. The AI is sort of pushing us to see connections we might not normally make.
Okay, so the conversation shifts again. It becomes more personal. Herzog, or AI Herzog, talks about wanting to fly.
Fly.
Yeah, specifically like a man, like Icarus, but in a small airplane, there's this ambition there, a desire to transcend.
Ah, Icarus. So immediately the question of hubris comes up, right?
Right. Is that desire inherently flawed? Does the machine have to crash, as the transcript puts it?
And Herzog himself, or the AI version, connects this to human sexuality. That's unexpected.
Yeah, it is. He sees intimacy, being with a partner, as also having this inherent risk of vulnerability, a place where a sort of crash is always possible.
That's quite an analogy. The risk of heartbreak mirroring the physical risk of flight.
Mm-hmm. And his conclusion is almost defiant. He says you shouldn't be too careful. Because the point, the desire, is to reach everything. It's about embracing that risk, not being paralyzed by the fear of failure if you want something deeply.
Right. So the point isn't caution above all else. It's the striving, reaching beyond limits, even knowing you might fail or crash.
Yeah.
It ties back, in a way, to the risk in love we talked about earlier, and the commitment needed for politics Ejec mentioned. It really asks you, the listener, about your own goals. How much risk are you willing to accept to pursue them?
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? All sparked by this AI's simulation.
We really have. From love as an illusion to the weight of existence, the meaning of suicide.
The link between love and political action, and then this dream of flight, ambition, risk.
It's pretty remarkable that these complex, interconnected themes emerged from, essentially, an algorithm mimicking human thought.
It makes you think about the potential of these kinds of creative AI projects, doesn't it? Can they actually spark real philosophical reflection?
It seems like they can, or at least this one did for us. It forces you to re-examine things.
Okay, so maybe one last thought for you, the listener, to take away. Think about your own illusions. The ones you hold about love or meaning or maybe your own potential. To what extent do those beliefs, those perhaps necessary illusions, actually drive your actions and shape your world?
And maybe is that inherent risk of crashing, whether it's in love or ambition or just living, is that just an unavoidable part, maybe even a necessary part, of striving for something truly meaningful?
Something to chew on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.